This is Emma Kong. Every year on February 14th, people in Europe and America celebrate Valentine's Day. Lovers exchange gifts, especially chocolates and flowers, and often go on dates to mark this romantic occasion. But in China, there is another festival, often called the Chinese Valentine's Day. It is the Qixi Festival, which falls on the 7th day of the 7th month in the Chinese Niulang calendar. Do you know why? Behind it lies a touching legend about the love between a mortal man and a fairy. A long time ago, in an ancient Chinese village, there lived a lonely young man. His parents had died when he was little, so he grew up with his elder brother and sister-in-law. Suddenly, his sister-in-law was cruel and treated him very badly. When the family property was divided, she gave him nothing but an old ox, and then drove him out of the house. Since he spent his days herding cattle, people simply call him Niulang, which means the cowherd. Although Niulang was poor, he was kind-hearted and hard-working. He lived with the old ox in a shabby hut built from straw and mud. Every day, he rose at sunrise to work and returned home at sunset to rest. But what Niulang didn't know was that this ox was no ordinary animal. Long ago, it had broken the laws of heaven and was punished by being sent down to live in the human world. The ox was wise, and it could see how Niulang treated it with kindness, yet lived such a lonely life. So the ox made up its mind. It would help Niulang find a wife. One day, the old ox suddenly spoke to Niulang. Yes, it said, "I can talk, and I have something important to tell you. In heaven, there is a beautiful fairy called Zhinu, the weaver girl. Tomorrow at dusk, she will come down to the human world with her sisters. They will bathe in the lake at the foot of the hill, right near our home. Their robes will be left on the grass. If you pick up the pink silk robe and hide in the woods, Zhinu will not be able to return to heaven. And then, she may become your wife." Niulang was both shocked and overjoyed. How could this old ox suddenly speak? It was beyond belief. But deep in his heart, he had always longed for a wife. So the next evening at dusk, Niulang followed the ox's instructions and quietly made his way to the lakeside. In heaven, one day equals a whole year on earth. To the fairies, a short visit to the human world seemed harmless. The 7 fairy sisters believed the Queen of Heaven would never notice their absence. At dusk, the lake sparkled like a dreamland. Slowly, the 7 sisters descended from the sky, each of them breathtakingly beautiful. Laughing and chatting, they laid their robes on the grass and stepped into the crystal clear water. Splashing and playing together, Niulang held his breath. Among them, he spotted the most beautiful of all, the daughter of the Jade Emperor and the Queen of Heaven, Zhinu, the weaver girl. Summoning his courage, he crept out from the bushes and quietly took away Zhinu's robe. When the fairies finished bathing, they soared back to heaven one by one. But Zhinu could not find her robe, and so she could not fly. She stood anxiously by the lakeside, shy and helpless. At that moment, Niulang stepped out from the bushes, holding the pink robe in both hands. He said softly, "Don't worry, young lady. Your robe is here." Zhinu put on her robe, combed her long black hair, and began to talk with Niulang. Naive and honest, Niulang told her everything about his life. Then, summoning his courage, he said, If you would become my wife, I will spend my whole life loving you, protecting you, making sure you never regret marrying me." Listening to him, Zhinu was deeply moved. She felt both sympathy and affection for this simple, sincere man, so she shared her own story with him as well. In heaven, Zhinu's duty was to weave fine ropes for the gods and to create the beautiful clouds in the sky. She was a master weaver, and the Queen of Heaven would use her colorful brocades to decorate the skies above. If you have ever seen the bright red sunrise or the glowing sunset, those are said to be Zhinu's work. But the Queen of Heaven demanded so many brocades that Zhinu had no choice but to work day and night without any rest. She had no personal time, no freedom, only endless labor, like being trapped in a prison. So when she came down to the human world this time, she was enchanted by its beauty. In her heart, she already felt a desire not to return to heaven. Now seeing the kindness and sincerity in Niulang's eyes, she felt a deep warmth. Moved by his words, Zhinu agreed to marry Niulang, and from that moment on, she chose to stay in the mortal world. After Niulang and Zhinu were married, they lived a simple but happy life. Zhinu took care of the household and wove cloth, while Niulang worked the fields and tended the cattle. The couple loved each other deeply. The year passed quickly, and soon they had a son and a daughter. Together, the four of them made a warm and loving family. Their neighbors admired their love and often praised Zhinu's skillful hands, saying the cloth she wove was as beautiful as the clouds in the sky. Niulang would often tell them, "If it weren't for the old ox, how could I have married such a beautiful wife?" But their happiness did not last long. Word soon reached heaven that Zhinu had stayed in the mortal world and even married a human. The Jade Emperor and the Queen of Heaven were furious. One day, thunder and lightning shook the sky. Following the Queen of Heaven's command, the God of War descended from the heavens to seize Zhinu. At that time, Zhinu was working in the fields with Niulang and their two children. Suddenly, the God of War bound her with ropes. Stepping on clouds, he carried Zhinu swiftly toward the sky. Niulang could not catch up. Helpless, he fell to his knees and wept bitterly before taking his two children back home. On the way, the old ox spoke once more. "Niulang," it said, "I am too old, and my life will come to an end soon. Let me help you one last time. After I die, take my hide and wear it on your back. It will give you the power to fly like an immortal. With it, you can carry your children and go to heaven to find Zhinu." That very night, the old ox lay down quietly and passed away. With tears in his eyes, Niulang did as the ox had told him. He took off the hide, then quickly made a shoulder pole with two baskets. He placed his children inside the baskets, put on the ox hide, lifted the pole onto his back, and flew toward heaven. Outside the heavenly gates, Niulang saw Zhinu, and Zhinu saw him. They called each other's names and stretched out their hands, running toward one another. Just as the family of four was about to be reunited, from deep within the palace, the powerful Queen of Heaven drew the jade hairpin from her hair. With a single stroke, she created a shining silver river across the sky. Its rushing waters surged between Niulang and Zhinu, forcing them apart. From the earth below, that silver river is what we now call the Milky Way. Niulang and Zhinu could only gaze at each other across the river, unable to cross. The children clung to their father's back, crying out for their mother. Zhinu wept bitterly, but the white silver river kept her on the opposite shore. The love story of Niulang and Zhinu moved the hearts of people everywhere. Each day, people looked up at the night sky and prayed for the couple's reunion. Even many immortals in heaven were touched and pleaded on Zhinu's behalf. At last, the Queen of Heaven realized she had been too harsh. She granted permission. Once every year, on the seventh day of the seventh lunar month, Niulang and Zhinu could meet. The magpies, considered sacred birds, were also moved by this true love. On that night each year, countless magpies would fly to the heavens. They formed a living bridge across the Silver River, so Niulang and Zhinu could walk across and be together. Later generations called this the Magpie Bridge. There on the bridge, husband and wife reunited with their children. They spent one night together, pouring out all the longing they had held in their hearts. But when dawn arrived, they had to part again, waiting until the next year for another reunion. And so, every year on the seventh day of the seventh lunar month, the Qixi Festival became known as China's Valentine's Day, a symbol of true and everlasting love between devoted partners. The story of Niulang and Zhinu has been told for thousands of years. Its power lies not only in its romance and sorrow, but also in the way it reflects humanity's longing for true love. Zhinu, though the daughter of the Jade Emperor and the Queen of Heaven, chose to give up the luxury of the celestial palace. She came down to the mortal world, willing to live a humble life with the man she loved. Their love faced countless hardships, just like love in real life, which often must endure trials and even separation. Though they can only meet once a year, Niulang and Zhinu never gave up on each other. Their devotion has made this legend not only the origin of China's Valentine's Day, but also a lasting symbol of love in Chinese culture. Dear friends, what touches you the most about their story? Is it their lifelong devotion, or the bittersweet moment of their yearly reunion? And if you knew you could only see the one you love once in a while, would you still hold on? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and join me as we continue exploring more ancient Chinese legends. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next story.